ओम मौन व्याख्या प्रकटित परब्रह्म तत्त्वयुवानं वर्षिष्टान्ते वसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे. So we'll be looking at the 10th shloka, which is the last also. So let us see this shloka. Sarvatmattvamiti sphutikritamidam yasmadamushminstave tenasya shravanat tadartha mananat dhyanatcha sankirtanat sarvatmattvamahavibhuti sahitam syadishwaratvam swataha सिद्धेत्तत् पुनरष्टधा परिणतं चैश्वर्यमव्याहतम् सिद्धेत्तत् पुनरष्टधा परिणतं चैश्वर्यमव्याहतम्. So we have reached the last shloka, which is normally the phalashruti, correct? Whenever we chant any stotram or even some Vedic chants like Ganapati Atharva Shirsha is there, then there are Phalashruti is there in the end, and you are always supposed to chant along with the Phalashruti. Some people leave it out, but then traditionally they will say if you don't chant the Phalashruti, you won't get the Phala of the Stotra Patana itself. So here the phala is given, and in fact Sureshwara gives an introductory verse also for this. Let us quickly see that, and then we'll come to the meaning of this verse. So what is Sureshwara's introduction here? He says, Parichinnamaham bhavam parityajyanushangikam purnaham bhavalabhosya stotrasya phalamuchyate. So asya stotrasya phalamuchyate. This Dakshinamurti stotra, the phala for that is being said here. Okay. So what is the phala? That also Sureshwara himself tells here in a very brief manner. What is that? First he says, Parichinnam aham bhavam. So everybody starts the study of Vedanta with the notion that I am a limited individual being, correct? Parichinnam aham, I am limited. Okay, aham parichinnaha. So you start with that notion only. In fact, that is the fundamental problem also, in fact. So those who have recognized their own limitation as their fundamental problem, and also recognized that any accomplishment in terms of results of action is not going to solve my fundamental problem. So this recognition has to be there. So for one to study Vedanta, one of the most important qualifications is you should have accomplished something and seen the limitations of your own accomplishments. That is very important. So then only you can appreciate that you have a fundamental problem, and instead of just going after results of action in this world, one has to address this fundamental problem of limitation centered on oneself. That decision you have to take. Addressing this fundamental problem should be the top priority. That is what we call Purushartha Nischaya. So otherwise what we talk about 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama. So here Artha, Kama is common with animals also. Animals also seek security. Animals also seek pleasure. There is no difference. But human beings bring dharma also. Not only you want to seek something here, but hereafter also you want to ensure that you have pleasant experiences. So for that purpose, we are also accumulating some punya by doing dharma. Okay. So dharma itself, dharma here means dharma phala actually, punya. Gaining punya and avoiding papa as a purushartha. So that punya can fructify as pleasant experience in terms of going to Swarga and enjoying there, all that. Okay. So this dharma artha kama is common. Sorry, artha kama is common with reference to animals. Dharma is a human pursuit. In fact, even devas cannot accumulate any punya. They can only exhaust the punya. Okay. So the human being is in a very unique position of accumulating punya and also papa also. If you do not follow dharma, if you do adharma, you are going to gain papa. Anyway, so this dharma artha kama, the implication of that is you are a karta bhokta. You are a doer and an enjoyer. And as soon as you become a doer, as a karta, you are different from all other karakas, all other factors of action, correct? That means you are limited. You are not the object of action. You are not the instrument of action. Okay, like that you can look at it. You are not the locus of action. So there are many karakas are there, factors of action which aid you in performing an action. And you are only the karta and bhokta once the phala comes. Okay. If that is the case, all these purusharthas only reinforce that you are a limited individual. That's what is going on all the time. They are not going to remove your limitation itself. You are only trying to get something which is not going to remove the limitation which is fundamentally centered on you. You are still a limited being accumulating things. But what a mumukshu recognizes is that I want freedom from all limitations. Because as long as I am a limited being with any amount of accomplishment, with any amount of things accumulated under me, okay, let us say, still I am the same limited being with all these things. It's not going to change my position fundamentally. But what I really seek is freedom from all limitation. So it is like somebody fell down, let us say, I don't want anybody to fall down, but accidentally somebody fell down and broke their leg, correct? So initially what happened, doctors gave them cast, and with the cast on the leg, it's not easy to walk, correct? So you are also given crutches. Now the crutches are only reinforcing the fact that you have limitation with reference to walking, correct? It's only reinforcing that. It may be helping you in the short term. But let us say somebody got so attached with the crutches. So initially you got a wooden crutch. Then you are becoming a greater accomplishment. You got a silver crutch, let us say. Then your latest technology, titanium crutch you are having, or whatever, carbon composite crutch. Then golden crutch. You can keep on going like that. Bigger accomplishments. But it's not solving your problem, correct? Your fundamental problem is you are not secure on your legs. You are limited in terms of your walking. that fundamental limitation centered on you, instead of trying to get rid of that, if you are focusing on improving the crutches all the time, that's not helping you. So all this dharmartha kama is like that only. It is all crutches. You can have any type of crutch. It's not going to alter your fundamental situation that you are not free on your legs. Similarly, a mumukshu has to recognize this, that any amount of accomplishment, karma phala, or even going to swarga, wherever I go, whatever I accumulate, I will still be the same limited parichinnam aham bhavam will be there, correct? In my own judgment, I'll still be a limited being, and that I cannot tolerate, because that's not my nature. In fact, that's what the beauty is, correct? What is that? Why am I always struggling against these limitations? Why am I trying to become something in the hope that I can get rid of these limitations? Because that's not my nature. If being limited is my nature, that is the truth, I should be able to rest in that as my very nature, correct? Peacefully. But that's not possible. So that itself is pointing out to some other truth. And that is what I want to now discover. I want to know, because there are only two possibilities. Nasti akritaha kritena. That which cannot be created, the limitless, the infinite, can never be achieved by any action, because all results of action are anyway finite and limited. Accumulating any amount of limited things is still limited only. It's never going to become infinite. So that which is not the result of an action, that which cannot be created or reached or whatever, modified or purified or whatever, all these things only you can do through karma. If what I want is really not any of these things, how am I going to get it? Means it should already be there. That is the only possibility. If it is already there, why am I not knowing it? Means then you have to go and know about it. Discover the fact about yourself, your true nature. Go to a guru. Tad vijnanartham gurumeva abhigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtam samitpanihi. Samitpanihi also. Okay. So carrying samit means you are showing the right attitude, right commitment. You are ready to do seva to Guru, and you go to somebody who is already learnt the Shastra. Because the Shastra you cannot read yourself, because while reading you have to read it section by section, let us say, or sentence by sentence, word by word and all that. But even to interpret one part of the Shastra, you require the understanding of the whole. But unless you read the whole Shastra bit by bit, how are you going to get the whole? So it is a catch-22 situation, I would say. Unless you know the whole, you will not be able to interpret parts correctly. But unless you read all the parts correctly, you will not know the whole. So how are you going to read the Shastra yourself and understand? That's why this vichara one should not take by oneself. Okay, Shankara is very clear. You have to go to a guru who himself learned from his guru. And who himself learned from his guru. Who is the first guru? Dakshinamurti is the first guru. Ishvara is the first guru. That's why. So in all our Guru Parampara stotras or verses, whatever, it always starts from Ishvara. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam we say, or Narayanam Padma Bhuvam Vashishtam Shaktin Chatat Putra Parasharancha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadancha Hasta Malakancha Shishyam Tam tam totakam vartikakaramanyaan asmat gurun santata manatosmi. Like this, from Narayana also you can start if you are a Vishnu Bhakta, or you start from Sadashiva. It doesn't matter. Ishvara is the first Guru. And from there, the teaching is coming as a parampara, and you go to a Guru and learn. Then what you can do? Parityajya anushangikam. You can happily give up these limitations. So what is the greatest surrender you can do? Because some bhaktas are very fond of talking about surrender and all that, correct? And they think that all this talking of jnana and all is ego. Jnanis are all only increasing their ego, thinking that they want to know something and all that. But I would say the other way around. What is that? These people do not want to surrender their ego, in fact. They do not want to surrender their individuality, their limitation. What you have to give up? Okay. Yenat tyajati tat tyaja. Like that there is a saying. By which you are giving up, correct? That also you have to give up. So first, as an individual, you give up many things to make this pursuit your priority. Fine. But then what? The teaching says give up your individuality. In fact, you are not the individual. That is the real individuality comes and goes. That's what you have to see. It's a discovery. In fact, I am not an individual at all. I am having wrong identity with my body, mind, sense complex and suffering because of that wrong notion. All I have to do is give it up. Surrender your individuality, surrender your limitation, let Ishvara handle. It's Ishvara's Srishti, in fact. This body, mind, sense complex and all is part of Ishvara's Srishti. Why are you worried about it? Let it take its own course. Ishvara is the director. You are only in the play, Ishvara's play. Go according to Ishvara's script. You are totally asangaha. You are playing the role of a beggar, but you are earning $1 million as an actor. You are the actor, you do not have any identity really. Of course, you have some identity to play the role well. You are begging better than even the real beggar in the play. But that doesn't matter, correct? So give up, by which you really give up everything else. Give that up also. You have to surrender all your limitations. Let Ishvara take all your limitations. Ishvara take your individuality. That is Ishvara's problem. You then rest in your own nature as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That is your nature. So Parityajya, give up all this limitations. Parichinnam aham bhavam. Purna aham bhava labhaha. Asya sthotrasya palam uchyate. So having given up what? Purna aham bhava labhaha is there. So you have gained that I am the, or aham, whatever I say as aham iti, that aham is purnaha, it is purna atma, it is complete, it is whole, it is partless whole, in fact, and it is complete, it doesn't lack anything. You are not a wanting being anymore. You are purna atma, and you are the atma of all the beings, in fact. Sarvatmatvam. Also in this verse also, that is the main thing which is talked about, correct? Sarvatmatvam. It is phuti kritamidam. That's how it starts. So Sarvatmatvam is what you have to understand in reality, because there is only one Chaitanyam. There is only one consciousness, which is you. That consciousness alone is shining in all the Sukshma Shariras. Remember, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. There is only one Kshetrajnaha, who is the one who is shining in all the kshetras. This body mind sense complex is the kshetra. So that is what you understand. You are the Atma of all the beings, and all the beings are in you, in your Atma only. Both ways we have to understand. Okay. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadharshanaha. So that is the phala. Sarva bhutastam atmanam. In you, you are the Atma in all the bhutas, all the beings. Sarva bhutastam. You are the one who is there as the Atma of all the beings. And not only that, Sarva bhutani cha atmani. All the beings are there in you only. Ikshate yoga yuktatma. Here yoga is jnanam. The one who has gained this jnanam sees like that. That is the vision, drishti of the jnani. That is the purna aham bhava, in fact. Sarvatra samadarshanaha. Everywhere you, because there is nothing other than you. Samam pashyati. Everything is sama. Same only for you. So that is the vision of jnani. You have to transform your self-identity. That is the main thing. Okay. We have to study Shastra only for that. Understand that. In fact, normally, even here, see, Shravana is talked about. Okay. We will come to that. So, how do we listen to Vedanta? Itself is very important. Many people come to Vedanta class for many reasons. But if you want the phala which is guaranteed by Vedanta, if you want to achieve that result, how do I have to approach Vedanta? How do I have to study, read? That is something very important, correct? So this is the phala, purna aham bhava. For that phala only is said in this 10th verse. Like that, Sureshwara has introduced. So what is the 10th verse itself? Sarvatmatvam iti sputi kritamidam yasmad amushmin stave. Yasmad amushmin stave. In this stotra, stava, correct? Dakshinamurti stotra, in this, whatever we saw till now in all the verses, what has been established? What is established is Sarvatmatvam iti sputi kritam idam. This fact that everything has only one Atma. Okay, Sarvam Atmam. Atma also you can take. Everything is this Atma alone. That has been clearly shown to you. Atma alone is everything. Everything is there in Atma. There is nothing other than Atma. Atma alone is Satyam. This has been taught very, very clearly. Sputi kritam. Beyond all doubts, it has been taught. Because it has been taught. And how do I learn what has been taught? Okay, what has been the teaching of these previous 9 verses? How do I go and learn that? Means, therefore it says, see, because this has been taught, that Sarvatmatvam has been taught in these verses clearly, Yasmat we have to put there. Therefore, whatever has been taught, you have to go and gain. You have to learn that, understand that. So therefore what? And how do I learn that? So that is what Tena Asya Shravanat Asya Stotrasya Stavasya Shravanat. So you have to listen to this stotra from Guru. Guru Mukhena. Shravana means always Guru Mukhena. Okay. Of course, nowadays you can listen through cassettes and all that, but still you have to have a guru. So Shravana is important. Shastra Shravana, go and listen to the Shastra, what the Shastra is telling. And here again, how do I listen to this Shastra? As I told you already, some people go and listen to the Shastra because they think it is some punya. Listening to the stotra itself is so peaceful to me. And also I think that it's a divine thing. And I'm sitting in the presence of some guru, some saint. That itself is punya. That is enough for me. People can be there like that, correct? This Swami is singing this in a very nice tune. I'm enjoying the tune, the music. That also is possible. So you can go and sit there for any number of reasons. In fact, my Guru Pujya Swamiji was a great public talker. And he used to crack many jokes and make people laugh all the time. So I see that many people used to just come for his public talks only to enjoy the jokes, laugh, and it's more like an entertainment. You can go for that, means you will get that. Whatever you go for, you will get that, correct? But that's not what Vedanta really wants to give you. If you want to get what Vedanta wants to really give you, you have to listen to that with the right attitude. And what is that attitude? You are listening to Vedanta not for gaining any facts. Understand that. It is not that you are going to get any degree or PhD or anything. That's not the point. It is also not for some like you to feel yourself good that you have studied all these texts. Okay, now I have finished Dakshinamurti Stotram. What is next? It's not for that also. It's not important how many Upanishads you have studied, how many Prakarana Granthas you have studied, or whether you are able to keep everything on your fingertips. Pancha Koshas are there. Whatever, correct? Avastha Traya is there, Sharira Traya is there. All that is only a methodology to teach you the truth that you are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So understanding the truth, more importantly, seeing yourself in the light of what the Shastra is teaching you. So Shastra is shining a very powerful light. In that light, you have to see yourself. Shastra is really a mirror, in fact. Every time you attend a class, you have to see yourself in the mirror. In the word mirror, how Shastra is really showing you. And retain that, understand that. Assimilate it and retain that vision of yourself. Whatever Shastra is telling, whatever the Guru is explaining, you have to see yourself in the light of those words and transform your self-identity. That is the only purpose of Shravanam. All other things are secondary. Every time you attend a class, is your self-identity, has it any changes happened or not? If you still remain the same individual, then Vedanta is not having any effect on you. Understand that. So it's all about transformation of your self-identity. In fact, giving up the individuality and taking the identity of the limitless. That is the phala. And that is what in every class that has to happen, in fact. Of course, it will not happen overnight. Insights have to be repeated. The same thing you have to do. So while you listen, you will have doubts. Then clarify it with your guru, with your sahapathis, with anybody. Manana also is important. Whatever is taught here, although it is simple, Vedanta as a subject matter is simple, in fact. But it is not simplistic. It is profound. It has to be understood correctly. Doubts may come and you have to address your doubts correctly. More than doubts, there are also emotional attachments with reference to many things. Those are more difficult, in fact, because logic will not work, manana will not work where emotions are involved. That also one has to take care. In fact, one should have taken care of that even before you come to Vedanta, but even that's not happening all the time, correct? So that also one has to prepare oneself, and one has to, even after listening to the Shastra, one has to assimilate. For assimilating again, one has to prepare oneself properly. And that is where all the yoga sadhana, everything is useful. Okay. One has to assimilate the teaching. Unless you assimilate it, there won't be any transformation. Your self-identity won't change. So this assimilation and transformation means dhyana, nididhyasana. Whatever you have learned from the Shastra, whatever you have again understood from that clearly without any doubts, still Viparita Bhavana is there. Because all these days I have been looking upon myself as Karta, Bhokta, limited being, individual. I have attachments based on that identity. I am playing so many roles. Everywhere I have, it is like we used to, we were crazy about kites as children in Chennai. So there used to be a season, kite season, correct? And we used to go to our whatever the terrace and make all this manja, we call it, correct? And we used to make our own kites and we used to fight with each other with that. It used to be interesting, but one problem is sometimes all this thread, whatever we have, or flying the kite, it will get all entwined, correct? It's not very easy to then, you have to be very patiently, you have to remove the whole thing again and make it straight so that again you can fly the kite. Like that here, all your identification and attachments are all entwined so much. You have to have some patience with yourself to get out of all that, straighten it out so that you can leave it happily, correct? So this dhyana, nididhyasana is very important, but more important is sankirtana. Of course, sankirtana here does not mean you go and start doing kirtanam, means like this Margari bhajan. In the Margashirsha Masa, people do bhajan on the roads, correct? It's not that you go and do bhajan of this stotra or anything. Sankirtana here means teaching. Whatever you have learned, you have to teach also. That's a very important thing because you have to keep the tradition going, correct? There is a Guru Shishya Parampara, it's a lineage, it should not be broken. So in our tradition, being a teaching tradition, everybody is encouraged to teach. In fact, Pujya Swamiji, during our long-term course, correct? During our course, used to make everybody teach. In the last 6 months, what he will do is he will form groups first. Then each group will go and sit with Swamiji, and each one in that group has to discuss one verse from Bhagavad Gita or one Upanishad Vakya in the presence of Swamiji. It's more like a group discussion, but basically each one has to talk whatever they have prepared in the presence of Swamiji. And Swamiji also will listen and maybe give some comments and all that. So many people will dread that. I don't know why, but anyway, they still had problems with that. Then finally, you have to also go and talk to the entire class. Swamiji also will be there. So he was very particular that all of us, at least those who underwent the long-term course, should be teachers. He looked upon himself as only a guru of gurus, or one who created all these teachers. That was his primary thing. Of course, Swamiji also did so many other things. Swamiji also composed music. But you cannot say that being a Carnatic musician is his main identity or anything. Those things happened, I think. So anyway, teaching is very, very important. Why? Because teaching makes you assimilate. Unless you assimilate, you cannot teach. It forces you to assimilate the teaching. And it's very important that way. So teaching means you have to think through all the questions which people may ask. While teaching also, it is another form of nididhyasana. There is nothing better than that. You are always with the teaching when you are teaching. And that helps you a lot. So Swamiji always wanted us to be teachers. Tradition also, in fact, says that if you learn something and don't teach, you will become a Brahma Rakshasa. So everybody has to teach. Whatever you have learned, don't be shy. Catch hold of somebody and start teaching. Once you are comfortable with whatever you have learned, you have to teach. Okay? So don't feel shy. There's nothing better than teaching. Prepare properly. Initially, you have to prepare properly. Later on, you don't even have to prepare much. See, Vedanta is a simple subject matter, let me tell you. If you have some language skills, that you will pick up. Okay? If you are with the same terminology, see, even in my case, I don't understand all Sanskrit. The classical Sanskrit has too many things. Okay? It's not, and I don't know all the technical words in that, or the even general vocabulary. But we are all comfortable with our subject matter. So language you will get. Once you are immersed in the language, you have to get the language. So don't worry about the language. And subject matter, you have to be clear. You should have something to communicate always. Then you talk. So whatever you want to communicate should be clear in your head. Then you can effortlessly communicate. You don't have to worry about anything. Rest of the things, let Ishvara will take care. Our Guru's grace is there. Whatever we have learned from the Guru only will come from your mouth also. Nothing else can come out, in fact. So you should not worry about all those things. Always teach. Once you have learned over a period of time and you are comfortable, you have understood, you have assimilated the subject matter, then you can teach. Or you should teach, I would say, mostly. Okay. So, in fact, Swamiji, when talking about Shankara, even says that why is Shankara celebrated so much? Because he was a teacher. That is the main thing. He could have been a Mauni Baba. Mauni Babas are also respected in India, all over India. But if Shankara had been a Mauni Baba, maybe here or there 1 or 2 verses about Shankara may have been there, that's it. But why is Shankara celebrated today all over the world? Because Shankara wrote all the Bhashya and he taught it to his students. He was always traveling with all, in those days, taking all these books in the form of whatever palm leaf and all that is not easy. He was always traveling with all these palm leaves. In fact, it is said that he traveled like that with with like a mala. This palm leaf, each prabandha here also it is said, correct? It is all tied and it is strewn on some rope or thread, and then they used to wear it, it seems, and walk from one place to another. And his shishyas, and then he taught. Because he was a teacher, he is still celebrated, he is known, and because of what he taught also, correct? So anyway, so Sankirtana, okay, so doing all this Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Sankirtana. So Swadhyaya also here we can add. Swadhyaya means Swadhyaya, Pravachana, Dhyana, like that. Na pramaditavyam, like that it is said in Taittiriya Upanishad also. The Sankirtana can be taken as Swadhyaya Pravachana. Swadhyaya, you have to study by yourself also, you have to study and then teach Pravachana. So if you do all these things, then by these things, by the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and teaching of this stotra, what do you gain? In this stotra, anyway, what is clearly taught was already said, correct? Because Sarvatmatvam has been clearly taught in this. By doing Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and teaching of this stotra, what do you gain? Sarvatmatva Mahavibhuti Sahitam Syadishwaratvam Swataha Siddhyet. So what will you obtain? What will you gain? What will be gained by you? Siddhyet. What is the gain? In Sarvatmatva Mahavibhuti Sahitam Syadishwaratvam Swataha. So along with this Sarvatmatva Mahavibhuti, so Sarvatmatvam is called the Mahavibhuti here. Vibhuti means glory, correct? Vibhuti Yoga is there in Gita also, 10th chapter. Bhagavan there says that whatever glories you see in this world, don't think it is all yours. I am manifest through all those glories. Any glory is manifestation of Ishvara, whether in yourself or in others. If we can recognize that, we can enjoy that also. We don't have to feel superior or jealous and all that, correct? Everything is a manifestation of Ishvara's glory only, and enjoy that as it is. But the Mahavibhuti, the greatest glory, what you can gain in this life is what? Is to recognize that I am the Atma of everything. Sarvatmatvam is the Mahavibhuti. There is nothing greater than that. Recognizing, discovering the fact that I am the self of all beings and all beings are in me. There is no greater glory than that. There is nothing greater than that. How can you improve infinity? Tell me. The limitless cannot be improved, and that is what the Shastra is giving. And along with that, what? Ishwaratvam Swataha Syat. You gain the Ishwaratva, overlordship. Here Ishwaratvam means that Ishwara's nature you have gained. Correct. Ishvara's very nature is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma only. And that Ishwaratvam you have gained. Along with that, some other things also you will get. Ashtada Parinatam Cha Aishwaryam Avyahatam Siddhyet. Like that. So, the Aishwarya in eightfold forms. Okay. The Ashtamaha Siddhi, we say. We already discussed even in the last verse also. Correct? Animadi. Anima, Laghima, Garima, like that, 8 different types of siddhis, yoga siddhis, we can say. They also, those things, see, you are learning Vedanta only to get moksha, only to know your real nature. But along the way, some other things are also coming. In fact, Sureshwara later on will tell very nicely about this. Okay. He says, in a cold place, you want to go and cook something, let us say. So what do? You go and light the fire in the kitchen. So why are you lighting the fire in the kitchen? To cook. But what is the effect of that? You get nice warmth. You are enjoying. So that is the avantara phala. The side effect, byproduct is what? You are enjoying the warmth of the fire. But the problem is what? You enjoy the warmth of the fire and don't do anything. Means you are not going to get anything to eat. That is not the primary purpose, correct? Enjoying the warmth of the fire is not why you lit the fire. So all this Aishwarya, Ashtada Parinatam Aishwaryam is there, correct? This 8 forms of siddhis, Animadi, they are all like the warmth of the fire. You can enjoy, but you cannot stop with that. You have to cook the food. You have to understand and gain this knowledge. That is the primary purpose. Not all these siddhis and all that, but they are there. They also you may get, you may not get, that is okay. But all these things are possible. See why they are even talking about all these siddhis and all that is there. It's only to show that knowledge is what you have to get and to praise this knowledge. While pursuing this knowledge, you will also get all these things. So don't keep these things as the main thing. That is the point which is being pointed out here. Correct? Because even Taittiriya Upanishad also, what does it say? Brahma vida apnoti param tadesha bhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo vedanihitam guhayam parame vyoman. Okay, up to this it has said, the one who has known this in his own buddhi guha. Okay, then what? So oshnute sarvan kamaan saha. Saha ashnute sarvan kaman. Saha. Saha here is Yugapat. So at the same, simultaneously you know Aham Brahmasmi iti. Then what? Simultaneously you have fulfilled all your desires, all your kama. Sarvan kaman ashnute Yugapat. Immediately. So all these things, this Ashtamaha, Siddhi, etc. are also included in this Jnanam. Jnanam is the main thing. Pursuit of this knowledge, gaining this knowledge is the only thing which a mumukshu should be interested in. All other things are byproducts. They are also included. Gift with purchase and all nowadays is there, correct? You buy one and you will get something else. Most probably it is something the shopkeeper cannot sell. So he will promote it by giving it as gift with purchase of something else where he has anyway jacked up the price. But like that, you put one thing on the cart, you get the other thing along with that. And you will not use that also. You bring it home, it is lying in one corner. Anyway, so like that here, Jnana deva mokshaha. Jnana and moksha are the sadhya. Along with that, all this Aishwarya, Ashtamaha Siddhi, all these things are also coming because you are doing all this yoga sadhana for assimilation. These things also may be there, but they are all like the warmth you enjoy while cooking. The fire is there only to cook, not to give you warmth. The warmth is only a avantara phala. It's only a byproduct. So we have to understand that. So that's what, in fact, Sureshwara will say that. See here, Pake pravartamanasya shita adi pariharavat. Like that he is saying. So one who goes to cook and lights a fire also gets warmth nicely. In a cold weather, we have to assume. Otherwise, in a hot weather, it becomes a problem, in fact. In summer, in Chennai or in whatever, even our place, if you are having all this burning wood and cooking and all that, it is unbearable. But there, people were there like that. I don't know how they were managing. But here we have to assume the other way around. So all these phala you will get. Therefore, do Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana of these verses. You can chant it every day also till you memorize. Once you memorize, you can still keep chanting. While chanting, you can try to recollect the meaning, dwell on the meaning, look at yourself in the light of that meaning, and transform yourself. Your self-identity has to be transformed. That is the only purpose of this Vedanta study. There is no other purpose. It is not for anything else. You don't have to gain any punya. You don't have to remember n number of facts. You don't have to gain any degree or anything. It is just that you assimilate this knowledge and transform yourself. So that's what we have to do. Of course, there are a few more verses are there. I think most probably we'll finish it in some couple of weeks. Okay. So after that, what we'll do, we'll see. But a few more verses are there. Phalashruti. Or maybe it will take 3 weeks, I think. 2 or 3 weeks we can finish this. And then we'll take up something else I'm thinking of. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद जी.